Hello, welcome to another mini episode. The 50th is coming up and I wanted to do something a little bit more special for that one. So it's going to be obviously a little bit more involved, and in order to have time for that, I'm going to have to make any in-between reviews, sort of mini ones, just to not use up that coveted number 50 spot. So we'll call this 49B or whatever it ends up being. And what I want to quickly look at is the SI Ballistic Shocktube. A while back there were a couple SI names that were sort of released on the trademark site, and one was Tombstone, one was Detcord, the third one was Shocktube, and I thought maybe they just registered the name but didn't end up using any of it. But as such, it just finally came out. We saw a preview on Instagram, and then like one day later it showed up on the site, so I ended up getting one in my hands, and I'm going to quickly take a look at it. So as you see, it's very similar to the Split Jacket, which was released a few years ago. And of course the Split Jacket was sort of a rendition of the Jawbone, otherwise known as the new racing jacket now, just with a few extra minor changes. So basically, being a ballistic model, I'm not sure if the switch lock wouldn't be adequate for it, but basically it's not as easy to change out the lenses as it is with anything with the switch lock technology. So with the Split Jacket, basically you just sort of pull down on the nose tabs, the whole jaw opens, you take the lens out, it's not a problem. With this one, it actually has sort of reverse bolts. So if you look on the Split Jacket or the Jawbone, you have a nice flush bolt on the outside, and then there's sort of a hex screw on the inside. This is the opposite. The hex screw is on the outside, and then the flush mounted bolt is on the inside. First question I had was, can you swap the bolts? Can you put them, make them reversible and have them almost look like a Split Jacket? And the answer is no. Basically, on the inside of here, there's actually sort of a hex cutout, so this flush mounted bolt will only fit on the inside. You can't reverse it. They do come out, so you could theoretically swap them between shock tubes, but not on a different model. Alright, so how do they fit? They're actually pretty nice. They don't have any unobtainium on the ear stem, unlike the Jawbone in the Split Jacket. But as far as fit goes, they're pretty snug. They do wrap, and the thinness of the ear stem is actually pretty nice for that. So it does wrap a little bit more, but since it's so thin, it doesn't really squeeze your head too much. One thing that someone else brought to my attention was that it does have a bit of rake, so it leans forward a bit more than a lot of the other glasses. So if I put on like the Split Jacket, I feel like this kind of fits flush to my face, whereas this one the Shocktube almost feels like it's leaning forward a little bit. From others who have worn them extensively, they haven't really seen an issue with that, so I don't foresee it to really be a problem. I mean, it does feel pretty snug. I just do feel like there's a little bit more pressure on the bottom than on the top, but really not big of a problem. Alright, so how do you get the lenses out? Well, basically it comes with this little tool here, and if you use any sort of, if you have like a hex toolkit, or even an Allen wrench would probably work, you can just basically use that toolkit, or you can use this little knob here. So it is actually the same one that will fit inside of the Split Jacket, so if you do have a shock tube, you could then use this tool, but I probably prefer just using like a legitimate tool for this. But in a pinch, if you have this handy, you can sort of just undo the bolts here, and let me just do one of these real quick. Basically, you just sort of, you want to put pressure on the inside because this is actually going to come out the front. The first time I tried this, I kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and it just wasn't doing anything. So make sure you do put some pressure on the back here and push out as you undo it, and then the bolt will come out through the front. And if you want, you can sort of finish it off by hand. And there we go. Alright, so now we have the completed bolt free. And now we can basically just slowly open that up here. Now there is no hinge here. This is actually bolted right in the middle here. So all it's really going to do is just sort of open it up so you can then take the lens out. So no hinges or anything like that. It's just going to basically loosen up so you can take the lens out. And then when you get the lens back in, you just sort of pressure fit it back into place. Put the flush mounted bolt on the back. Hold it in place, and then get that front loaded screw in there. And then slowly just get that back in place. And since the back mounted one does have sort of a hexagonal key to it, it will stay in place once you sort of get it somewhat fit. This tool is plastic, which is good because I do notice on the black finish on this, I imagine this with a metal tool would start flaking off that black paint and it would start looking less than desirable after a while. So the plastic tool is nice because it can sort of treat the paint a little bit better and hopefully won't look as worn over time. But I love the fit. It's really sort of a nice design. Interesting thing is the first thing I thought about when I saw this was this almost looked like the new Straight Jacket 2. And that's actually interesting because when they were prototyping the Jawbone, one of the first iterations was just like the old racing jacket with switch lock, and then it's turned into the new Straight Jacket 2 with switch lock, and then eventually we ended up with the Jawbone design, and then they later renamed that the new racing jacket. So it sort of went through a few iterations, but this almost looks like it was sort of in that mid-generation where it had those lugs in the middle with a little bit of extra detailing. It does have the dual cam hinge here, so it does sort of stay closed or stay open depending on where it's at. This is just detailing accent there. There's really nothing else to it. A couple sharp angles on the stem there, and of course it does have nose pads, so it will sort of grip your face a little bit better. But I do like the look. This is the Terrain Tan frame. It comes in also matte black too, so if you like that, you can definitely get it in that style too. So just a real quick overview. I'll be wearing these a bit more just to see how they hold up under daily use, but so far they've been pretty good. Alright, thanks.